Greetings viewers, and welcome to another episode of Benji's Railway Series narrations. This time we are looking at the second of Awdry's books, which is, you guessed it, Thomas the Tank Engine. The one you've all been waiting for. And I have to say, it took me a very long time to make this video. Because for one thing, this is the first time I've ever done a longer video than my usual ones. And it's been exhausting. And since that the new year is just around the bend, I think this will be a good time to get the video onto the channel. So anyway, before we begin this video, I would like to remind everyone that this video is not made strictly for kids. It is for older fans and grown-ups just like me, if you know what I mean. And also, stay tuned after the main feature in the video, as I have an update on my brother's new daughter. But for now, I would like you all to sit back and relax, and let's get this show on the road. Or in this case, the line. Enjoy.
Dear Christopher, here's your friend, Thomas the Tank Engine. He wanted to come out of his station yard and see the world. These stories tell you how he did it. I hope you will like them, because you helped me make them. Your loving Daddy.
Thomas is a tank engine who lived at Vickerstown Station on the island of Sodor. He was the #1 engine of the Northwestern Railway because he was the first engine to be officially bought for the railway when it first opened, Edward of course being the second. Thomas's job on the railway was to be the Vickerstown Station pilot, which involved moving rolling stock around its yard. He was a cheeky little engine with 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, and a short stumpy boiler, and a short stumpy dome. He was a fussy little engine too, always pulling coaches about ready for the bigger engines to take on long journeys. And when trains came in, he pulls the empty coaches away so that the bigger engines can go and rest. Thomas thinks no engine works as hard as he does. He loves playing tricks on them, including Gordon, the railway's main express engine, who is the biggest and proudest engine of all. Thomas likes whistling rudely at him. "Wake up, lazy bones! Why don't you work hard like me?" One day, after pulling the Wild Nor'wester, Gordon had arrived back at the sidings, very tired. He was just going to sleep when Thomas came up in his cheeky way. "Wake up, lazy bones! Do some hard work for a change! You can't catch me!" And off he ran laughing. Instead of going to sleep again, Gordon thought how he could get back at Thomas. Next morning, there was a problem at the engine sheds. Thomas was having trouble waking up. His driver and fireman couldn't make him start. His fire went out and there was not enough steam. To make matters worse, it was nearly time for the morning express. People were waiting, but the coaches weren't ready. At last, Thomas started. "Oh dear! Oh dear!" he yawned. He fussed into the station where Gordon was waiting. "Hurry up, you," said Gordon. "Hurry yourself," replied Thomas. Gordon began making his plan just as Thomas took the coaches to the platform. "Yes," said Gordon, "I will." And almost before the coaches had stopped moving, Gordon reversed quickly and was coupled to the train. "Get in quickly, please," he whistled. So the passengers got on board, the signal showed clear, and when the clock struck the hour, the guard gave the right away, and Gordon set off. Thomas usually pushes behind the big trains to help them start, and he was always uncoupled first. But on this day, because everyone was in such a hurry, and Gordon had started so quickly, they forgot to uncouple Thomas. Gordon's chance had come. "Come on, come on, come on," called Gordon to the coaches. The train went faster and faster, too fast for Thomas. He wanted to stop, but he couldn't. "Peep, peep, stop, stop!" "Hurry, hurry, hurry," laughed Gordon. "You can't get away, you can't get away," laughed the coaches. Poor Thomas was going faster than he had ever gone before. He was out of breath, and his wheels were hurting, but there was nothing he can do about it. "I shall never be the same again," he thought sadly. "My wheels will be quite worn out." At last, they stopped at the station. The passengers laughed when they saw Thomas at the back of the train, wheezing and panting. He was then uncoupled and was now feeling very silly and exhausted. Next, he went on to a turntable, thinking of everyone laughing at him. And then he went on to a siding, out of the way. "Well, little Thomas," chuckled Gordon. "Now you know what hard work means, don't you?" Poor Thomas couldn't answer. He had no breath. He just puffed slowly away to rest and had a long, long drink. He went home very slowly and was careful afterwards never to be cheeky to Gordon again. One day, Thomas the Tank Engine was grumbling to the bigger engines. "I spend my time pulling coaches about ready for you to take out on journeys." The bigger engines just laughed. "Why can't I pull passenger trains too?" "You're too impatient," they said. "You'd be sure to leave something behind." "Rubbish," said Thomas. "I'll show you." Since the railway first opened, Thomas had always been the Vickerstown station pilot. He didn't mind this job at first, but over time he became so bored and frustrated pulling coaches all the time, and longed to pull a train of his own. But of course, he wasn't allowed to. Then, one night at the sheds, he and Henry, the green mixed traffic engine, were alone. Henry was feeling ill. The man worked hard, but he didn't get better. He felt just as bad next morning. Henry usually pulled the first train, and Thomas would always get his coaches ready. If Henry is ill, he thought, perhaps I shall pull his train. Thomas set off to find the coaches. Hurry along, he huffed. There's plenty of time, said the coaches. Thomas brought them to the platform, and there he waited for Henry. But he didn't come. He then wanted to run round in front at once, but his driver wouldn't let him. Don't be impatient, Thomas, he said. Thomas waited and waited. The passengers got on board, the guard and the station master walked up and down, the porters banged the doors, but still Henry didn't come. Thomas got more and more excited. Just then, the Fat Controller came out of his office to see why the train hadn't left yet, and the guard and the station master told him about Henry's illness. Find another engine, he ordered. There's only Thomas, they said. You'll have to do it then, Thomas. Be quick now. So Thomas ran round to the front and backed down onto the coaches, ready to start. Don't be impatient, the driver reminded. Wait till everything is ready. But Thomas was too excited to listen. What happened then? No one knows. Perhaps they forgot to couple Thomas to the train. Or maybe Thomas had been impatient. Or perhaps the driver had pulled the regulator by mistake. Anyhow, Thomas started. As he passed the platform end, everyone waved and shouted, but he didn't stop. They're waving because I'm such a splendid engine, Thomas thought to himself. Henry says it's hard to pull trains, but I think it's easy. Hurry, 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 he puffed, pretending to be like Gordon. People have never seen me pulling a train before. It's nice of them to wave, and he whistled. Peep, peep! Thank you! But as he came to the main junction, he saw that the signal was at danger. Bother! He huffed. I must stop, and I was going so nicely too. What a nuisance signals are! And he blew an angry peep, peep on his whistle. The signalman then ran up. Hello, Thomas, he said. What are you doing here? I'm pulling a train, said Thomas. Can't you see? Where are your coaches then? Thomas looked back. Why, bless me, he said. We must have left them behind. Yes, said the signalman. You'd better go back quickly and fetch them. Poor Thomas was so sad that he nearly cried. Cheer up, said his driver. Let's go back quickly and try again. Back on the platform, all the passengers were crowding round the Fat Controller, and they told him what a bad railway it was. But just as they saw Thomas returning, they saw how sad he was, and soon forgot to be cross. He waited very patiently and was coupled to the train. Right away! This time, he really pulled it. Thomas soon began enjoying himself, and even forgot about his little mistake as he made his way along the main line. He stopped at all the scheduled stops and did his best to keep to the timetable. But as he continued on his journey, he soon realised that pulling trains wasn't quite as easy as he thought, and soon began to feel exhausted as his train got heavier and heavier. Not long now, encouraged the driver. We'll soon be at the last station. And indeed they were. Roberts Gate Station. All change, please. This train terminates here. When they reached their station, the passengers all thanked Thomas, and he apologised for his little mistake. But the passengers, of course, forgave him, as they knew that this wasn't his regular job. Thomas was uncoupled and went onto a siding to have a quick drink and a rest before the return journey. During his drink, he thought of something. It may not have gone quite as planned, but at least I got to pull a passenger train for once. But I think Henry was right. Maybe pulling trains isn't quite as easy as I thought. Even if it was just for one day. Soon after, Thomas ran round the train and was coupled up to the other end. And as soon as the guard blew his whistle, Thomas set off back to Vicarstown. But for a long time afterwards, the bigger engines would laugh at Thomas and say,
"Look, there's Thomas who wants to pull a train but forgot about the coaches."
Thomas the Tank Engine wouldn't stop being a nuisance. Night after night, he kept the bigger engines awake. "I'm tired of pushing coaches. I want to see the world." The bigger engines didn't take much notice, but Thomas was a little engine with a long tongue. Several days had gone by since Thomas's journey with Henry's local train. But ever since the bigger engines had been making fun of him for leaving the coaches behind, he had now grown tired of it all, and hoped he could one day leave Vicarstown Yard. But one night, Edward the old blue engine came to the sheds. Ever since he had helped Gordon with the express freight train, the Fat Controller had assigned him to Wellsworth Station. There, he would shunt trucks in its yard, and would bring goods trains to and from Vicarstown. He was a kind little engine, and was a very good friend of Thomas, as they, along with several other engines, helped to build the North Western Railway. So when he heard about Thomas's frustration from the bigger engines, he made a plan. So when he rolled into the shed berth near Thomas, he put his plan into action. "I've got some trucks to take home tomorrow," he said. "If you'll take them instead of me, I'll push coaches in the yard." "Thank you," said Thomas. "That will be nice." Next morning, Edward and Thomas asked their drivers, and when they said yes, Thomas ran off happily to find trucks. Now trucks are silly and noisy. They talk a lot and don't care what they are doing. And I'm sorry to say, they play tricks on an engine who is not used to them. Edward knew all about trucks. He warned Thomas to be careful, but Thomas was once again too excited to listen. The shunter fastened the coupling, and when the signal dropped, Thomas was ready. The guard blew his whistle, "Beep, beep," answered Thomas, and started off. But the trucks weren't ready. "Oh, oh, ooh, ooh!" they screamed. "Wait, Thomas, wait!" But Thomas wouldn't wait. "Come on, come on, come on," he bluffed. "All right, don't fuss, all right, don't fuss," rumbled the trucks. Thomas began going faster and faster. Whee! He whistled as he rushed through Henry's tunnel. Hurry, hurry, called Thomas. He was feeling very proud of himself, but the trucks grew crosser and crosser. At last, Thomas slowed down as he came to Gordon's hill. Steady now, steady, warned the driver as they reached the crest. He began to put on the brakes. We're stopping, called Thomas. No, 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 answered the trucks, bumping into each other. Go on, go on! Before the driver could stop them, they pushed Thomas down the hill and were rattling and laughing behind. Poor Thomas tried hard to stop them from making him go too fast. Stop pushing, he hissed, but the trucks took no notice. Go on, they giggled in their silly way. There's Wellsworth. Oh dear, what shall I do? He cried. He rattled straight through the station and swerved into the goods yard. Thomas shut his eyes. I must stop. When he opened his eyes, he saw he had stopped just in front of the buffers. And there, watching him, was the Fat Controller. What are you doing here, Thomas? He asked. I brought Edward's trucks, Thomas answered. Why did you come in so fast? I didn't mean to. The trucks pushed me, sir, said Thomas. Haven't you pulled trucks before? Asked the Fat Controller. No, sir, said Thomas sadly. I'm afraid I haven't. You've got a lot to learn about trucks then, little Thomas. Maybe after pushing them around here for a few days, you'll almost know much about them as Edward. Then you'll be a really useful engine. Thomas didn't answer as he took the trucks to their proper sidings. Whilst deep down in his thoughts, he knew that the Fat Controller had a point. He still had a lot to learn, didn't he? It had been a few days since Thomas had that unfortunate mishap with the troublesome trucks. And ever since that day, he had been in Wellsworth Yard so he could learn about how to handle trucks. It wasn't quite what he wanted, but at least he was glad to be somewhere other than Vicarstown Yard. Sometimes, he would see Edward coming and going with his goods trains. And every day, the Fat Controller would come to the station to catch his train. Hello, he always said to Thomas. Remember, don't be impatient, Thomas. You can never be as strong and fast as Gordon, but you can be a really useful engine. Don't let the silly trucks trick you. There were lots of trucks, and Thomas worked very hard, pushing and pulling them into place. On a siding, at the far end of the yard, were some trucks that Thomas was told he mustn't touch. They consisted of a small coach and two strange things that his driver called cranes. That's the breakdown train, he told Thomas. It's used whenever a train derails. The coach is used to transport workmen and tools, and the cranes are used for lifting heavy things like engines and coaches and trucks. One morning, Thomas was just getting fired up, ready to start work, when the Fat Controller came.
"Good morning, Thomas,"
he said.
"Just thought you'd like to hear some news."
"What is the news, sir?" Thomas asked.
"I have acquired a new engine from the LMS to help us with the extra work."
"A new engine? Really? May I go and see him, sir?" The Fat Controller shook his head.
"You're needed here, I'm afraid. But don't worry, you'll get to see him in due time."
Thomas sighed. "Very well, sir. What's his name, anyway?"
"His name is James,"
said the Fat Controller.
"But I have to go and see him to give him some work to do. You focus on your shunting, please, Thomas."
"Okay, sir," said Thomas, and the Fat Controller set off to catch his train. As soon as Thomas was fired up, he set off to do his shunting, all the while thinking about the new engine. Later that afternoon, Thomas had just shunted some trucks that Edward brought in, when suddenly he heard an engine whistling. "Help! Help!" and a goods train came rushing through much too fast. The engine was a black mogul, and judging by the sparks flying from his wheels, Thomas could see why he was going so fast. His brake blocks were on fire. "They're pushing me! They're pushing me!" the engine cried.
On!
Laughed the trucks, and still whistling. "Help! Help!" the runaway train disappeared. "I would like to teach those trucks a lesson," said Thomas the Tank Engine. Soon after, and without warning, an alarm rang in the signal box. And the signalman ran out. "There's been a derailment near Crosby," he shouted. "Someone fetch the breakdown train, quickly!" It was at that moment Thomas knew what he had to do. He coupled up to the breakdown train and set off for the crash site. Thomas worked his hardest. "Hurry, hurry, hurry!" he puffed. He wasn't pretending to be like Gordon. He really meant it. Bother those trucks and their tricks. I hope that poor engine isn't hurt. On the way, a thought struck him. Was that engine the new engine the Fat Controller said about? There was only one way Thomas could find out, and that was to get to the crash site. When Thomas arrived at the crash site, he was shocked. The runaway train had derailed around a sharp curve just outside the town of Crosby. Most of the trucks lay all over a large field, and their loads were scattered everywhere, while the remaining few trucks in the brake van remained on the rails. And the engine was buried up to his axles in soil, and a cow was staring curiously at him, while the driver and firemen were feeling him all over to see if he was hurt. Thomas pushed the breakdown train alongside. Then he helped the workmen clear up the mess by pulling the unhurt trucks out of the way.
"Oh dear! Oh dear!"
they moaned. Serves you right, puffed Thomas. He was hard at work, puffing backwards and forwards all afternoon. "This'll teach you a lesson, this'll teach you a lesson," he told the trucks. And they answered,
"Yes it will! Yes it will!"
They left the broken trucks, and with the two cranes, they put the engine back on the rails. Once that was done, the engine tried to move, but realised he couldn't, as his pistons were damaged upon impact. "Do you need help?" asked Thomas. "I'm afraid I do," said the engine. "I can't move if my pistons are broken." "I can take you back to the sheds if you want," said Thomas. "Oh, thank you," said the engine. "You're such a kind youngster." "By the way," said Thomas, "are you that new engine that the Fat Controller ordered?" "Yes, I am. I'm James. What's your name?" "I'm Thomas. I'm the shunter at Wellsworth, and ex-station pilot at Vickerstown." "Nice to meet you, Thomas," said James. "I was so looking forward to starting work on this railway, but I really wish my first day didn't have to end like this." "Never mind, James," said his driver. "It wasn't your fault. It was those wooden brakes your old railway gave you." "Indeed. We always said they were no good," said the fireman. "But will that controller listen? No, he won't. If I ever see his face again, I'm really going to give him a... I think that'll have to wait another time," said the driver. "Let's just focus on the important things at the moment." And so they did. Thomas coupled up to James, and they set off back to Vickerstown. The Fat Controller was waiting anxiously for them.
"Well, Thomas," he said, "I've heard all about it and I'm very pleased of you. You're a really useful engine. James, you shall be repaired at Grosvenor Gate. There you will have some proper brakes and a new coat of paint."
"Thank you, sir," said James.
"And Thomas, you deserve a special reward."
"A reward? What is it, sir?" Thomas asked.
"Well, you see, I'm reopening an old branch line that runs to Farquhar soon," said the Fat Controller. "So therefore, Thomas, would you like to have this branch line when it reopens?"
"Oh, yes, sir. Thank you, sir," said Thomas. Now Thomas is as happy as can be. He now runs the Farquhar branch line and has two coaches called Annie and Clarabelle. He puffs proudly backwards and forwards with them all day. He is of course never lonely. The other engines, especially Edward and Henry, often stop by and tell him the news. Gordon is always in a hurry with the Wild Nor'Wester, but he never forgets to say "poop poop," and Thomas always whistles "beep beep" in return. And what about James? Well, he was soon mended at the works, and like the Fat Controller said, he was given proper brakes and a new coat of paint. But to everyone's surprise, his new coat was very different than his other one. Instead of the LMS black, James was now wearing a smart coat of bright red with a gold dome. "The Fat Controller gave me this colour so as to make me feel better after my accident," he told the other engines. "And also to make me stand out from the rest of you." James is now recently pulling passenger trains and goods trains along with the bigger engines as the North Western Railway's number 5, and he too would often see Thomas from time to time. But despite all this, there was a lot he had to learn before he could get into the Fat Controller's good books. But that's another story. that was the Railway Series Book 2, Thomas the Tank Engine. And boy, what a video this has been. Like I said before, this is the first time I've ever had to make a video this long. I hope you've enjoyed this video as much as I have enjoyed making it. Right then, on to the update. Thomas and Lucy have now had their baby, and her name is Flora Margaret Reed. Her date of birth was the 23rd of October 2025 at 13:06 PM. And the birth happened at University Hospital Lewisham in London. So, all I can say is, Thomas, Lucy, congratulations on becoming parents, and welcome to the Reed family, Flora. Perhaps when she's old enough, I'll introduce her to the world of trains, and maybe she'll become a Thomas fan as well. We shall just have to wait and see. Well, I guess that's the updates for now. All I just have to say is, the next video of Benji's Railway Series narrations will be the third book, James the Red Engine. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in 2026. Goodbye!